Coming up, the Nuggets take on the Thunder in a semifinals matchup. And, well, the deck stacked against them. The Nuggets get to be huge underdogs. Can they shock the world and knock off the Thunder? We'll talk about it on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us, making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us here on a Monday, being an everydayer, hanging out with us Monday through Friday. Whether you're listening on podcasts, which is a great way to support the show, is listen to podcasts, download us, give us those 5-star reviews. Podcast is where we make the bank, and that is a great way for you to support the show is by downloading us. Even if you're watching us at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets, do both. Amazing. Listen to us multiple times. The support really does help, and we appreciate each and every single one of you. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Sorry we're late tonight. As we're recording this at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. We're a little bit late with this episode, and the reason is entirely me. Ryan was ready to do No Jinx, and I was tied up with other stuff. I've been working pretty much nonstop since, ever. But really, since Saturday morning, I haven't pretty much stopped moving or writing, or podcasting. And so I got hung up with some other stuff that I was late on, so I was unable to do that. And so I'm coming with you here about midnight Mountain Time with an episode breaking down the X's and O's side of Nuggets Thunder. Tomorrow, you're going to get Rylan Stiles of Locked On Thunder and Ryan Blackburn of Locked On Nuggets in a crossover episode. That'll be up in the afternoon before game one. So you'll be able to listen to it and get perspectives from both sides. I love Rylan. He does a really great job. He's very confident in this Thunder team. So it's going to give you someone to hate listen to. And you get to hear, Ryan, like doom spiral because he thinks the Thunder are never ever going to lose again. Appreciate everybody being with us here on a Sunday night. Sean says, come on, Matt, give us some good news. All right, well, we'll try and get to it. On today's show, we'll talk about the matchup with the Thunder. And we're going to talk about a couple of things that I think are going to be really important about how the Nuggets need to bend their approach in this series if they want to pull off the upset. They are massive dogs in the series, and they should be. The Oklahoma City Thunder have the best point differential in NBA history. They beat opponents by more than any team ever has. That's usually been the best indicator of strength. You can get more wins than the Thunder did if you win a bunch of closer games, but no one beat the entirety of their schedule by more than the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are young, but they are formidable. They are extremely disciplined. They cause turnovers. They wreak havoc. They get downhill. Their pick and roll numbers are incredible. Their isolation numbers are incredible. Their numbers about being able to limit mistakes are incredible. They are a phenomenal, incredible, well-coached, deep, versatile, star-led, awesome team. They're really good, but they're beatable. Like, this team is beatable. They are not an unstoppable juggernaut. This is not the 2016 Warriors, who, by the way, lost in the finals. They're not the 2017 Warriors. They're an excellent team. They're beatable. We'll talk in the final segment about whether or not I think that they're going to be beaten, but we'll start with that. And I want to start here because I think it's a very, very important point. The Nuggets have won in a lot of situations where they've been up against it. Okay. They've gone on the road with 7 guys. They battled back from 3-1 twice. They battled back from 2-1 in this series. They have beaten the Portland Trailblazers without Jamal Murray. They have shown time and time again that their mental toughness and fortitude is unparalleled. And so I will not say that game 1 is impossible. I am not calling for the Nuggets to sit guys in game 1. What I am going to say is that teams in the Nuggets situation who are coming off of less than 3 days rest off of game 7, going into the following series against a team with more than 4 days rest, are 4-19 since 2003. 4-19. Okay. When you are the underdog, which they were in every single series. Because if you're in that spot, you're going to be the underdog. If you are on the road and you are coming off of a game 7 in general, regardless of rest, the numbers are still pretty awful. You are still 11-28, 28% straight up. The Nuggets are not winning game 1. They're going to get rolled in game 1. They're going to get destroyed in game 1. They're going to get absolutely obliterated in game 1. And you need to not overreact to that like we did after game 3 versus the Clippers. They're going to get beaten in game 1. The key for game 1 is to be a data gathering experience for the Denver Nuggets. You go out there and you try and win and you do everything possible. But what you don't do is don't make an in-game adjustment. Don't make any sort of drastic changes to what you're doing. Take as much as you can of what is working and take that into game 2. This series is game 2. That's the one. Now, it's only 48 hours after. The Nuggets don't get a break here. And there's been some conversation about like, wow, geez, no break. Most second round series, you don't get a break. First round, you have to get a break because they can't show 4 games every single night. There's not enough TV slots that they have allocated. But in the second round, I'm used to it being like, no. We have 2 series every night. That's it. Every other night we go until we get to the finals. But in this game in particular, again, if you can win game 1, great. Who knows? Crazy game. Russ hits 5 threes. Jamal goes for 37. Whatever. Sure. Try and win it. But my point is, game 2 needs to be the emphasis here. Arturo says Indiana just won in Cleveland. Indiana was coming off of a 5-game series, and they were not coming off of a 7-game series on 48 hours rest. That series was easy for Indiana. It is not easy for Denver. The gap between Denver and OKC is probably less than Indiana and Cleveland. But that's honestly really tough because I think Indiana's really good too. What I will say, though, is, again, if they can get enough information out of game 2 to build a game plan, and honestly, a blowout, not the worst thing. They got to get, like, they get out in today. Tomorrow, they'll do a full prep. You got to go through all the pregame stuff. But if they get blown out and they play light minutes, not the worst thing in the world. One of the things I will say is Adelman should not, if they are down 25, be like, let's get him back in there to try and make one more run at it. Pull the plug, get back for game 2. At that point, if OKC is up 20, go for it. If they're up 13, I mean, you can win that game. You can win that 13 with set 5 minutes left. You can win that game. Keep playing. But if this is as bad as it could be based off of the situation with rest, be prepared to pull the plug and pull for game 2. Because one of the things that can happen is the Thunder are coming off of a dominant 4-game sweep of the Memphis Grizzlies. They were down 30, came back and still won the game. They won all these games. They beat them by 50, blah, 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 blah. If they beat the Nuggets in game 1, then they're going to start being like, we really can't. Like, nobody's going to stop us. And then you catch them in game 2. You can catch them unaware in game 2. So that, to me, is part of the equation I think that they need to look at. The difference says we're winning game 1. Okay. Hey, you win game 1 and the series flips on its head, and all of a sudden everything gets into chaos. And I do not know how OKC responds in this situation if they're down 0-1. I don't know how they respond to adversity. I don't know. I just don't. I don't know how they respond to it. Sil says GSW shocked the number 2 Rockets. Denver can outlast number 1 OKC. Experience matters. The Warriors were favored in that series. That series going 7, it looks bad for the Warriors. That's how that series was actually kind of programmed. Coming up, though. All right, I've talked about like giving up on game 1. Fine. Let's talk about game 2, though. And let's talk about how the series is going to go. And let's talk about the kind of shots that OKC gives up and the kind of shots that Denver takes and what they can do to maximize it. We'll get into some X and O's here next on Locked On Nuggets. You know, the world's made a lot of progress when it comes to mental health, but there's still a long way to go. Too many people still avoid therapy because they're afraid of being judged. But the truth is, taking care of your mental health should be just as normal as going to the gym or eating healthy. This is one of my favorite lines, honestly, from a show called Rick and Morty, where there's a conversation about therapy, and it's just work. It's just self-care. That's all it is. It's just doing the work. It's nothing special. It's just doing the work of taking care of yourself. This Mental Health Awareness Month, let's normalize getting help and encourage everyone to prioritize their well-being. Because when people feel supported, families, workplaces, and entire communities are better for it. You will be amazed at the difference that just like having that outlet takes. It makes you a lot better to respond to your family because, you know, there's a lot of tension that comes with raising a family or your coworkers. You're going to carry stuff into work and you don't want to do that. You don't want to bring your baggage into somebody else's life. And it's not baggage, it's just stuff that you got to work through. Like I said, it's just the work. Do the work for yourself. With BetterHelp, getting started is easier than ever. It's fully online and it has a network of over 30,000 licensed therapists, and you can switch therapists at any time at no extra cost. We're all better with help. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba for 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us, being an everydayer, hanging out with us Monday through Friday. Make sure to check out Locked On NBA Game Night. It's got all of the local hosts send in short, so you're going to get their perspectives on all the games, as well as analysis from rotating crew of guys that I really trust and respect. There's so many smart guys on that show. You should go check it out. So let's actually talk about how this could go. Vicinity says, I keep hearing people say we need to be a volume 3-point shooting team to beat the Thunder since we don't force many turnovers, and they do. What's your thoughts on that? The Thunder give up the most 3-pointers, the highest 3-point rate for opponents in the league. They allow all those shots. They have allowed the lowest percentage this season. Okay, so they give up a lot of shots that no one hits. Analytics experts will tell you that 3-point volume is what matters and that 3-point opponent percentage is primarily luck. That over the course of time, if you give up a ton of threes, it's not sustainable. Now, the question is, one, is that accurate based off of the personnel and the way that OKC defends, which they are one of the best teams I've ever seen at closing out? And two, okay, if that does flip, can that flip in Denver's favor in this series to be able to convert those at a better look? If Isaiah Joe or Cason Wallace or Alex Caruso are closing in on Russell Westbrook, they left him open and are daring him to shoot, but they're also closing out on him. Does Russ shoot that 3 with confidence? Does he rush it? Or does he take a 2-dribble jumper and miss it badly? Like, the answer to that question tells a lot about this series. If he's able to calmly just take the shot and knock it down like he did versus the Clippers, the Nuggets have a chance. Conversely, Michael Porter Jr., if he rises and fires on a clean look with a smaller defender over him and makes the shot because they need those kind of shots, Denver can win the series. If Aaron Gordon knocks down wide open shots because Chet Holmgren is packing the paint, this team gives up a metric ton of threes, and they have been fortunate to get the percentage that they have. Now, I tell you this having watched their stuff. I watched every Shai Gilgeous-Alexander defensive possession for his MVP stuff. And I am telling you that they close out as well as I've seen any team ever close out. The turnovers are going to be a real problem. I've talked about this before. I've talked about it consistently. Denver wins at an 80% clip in the playoffs with Jokic and Murray when they turn over the ball over less than their opponent. OKC turns you over constantly. They rip, they pull, they shred, they deflect, they stunt, they hedge, they show a crowd. They peel the ball out from under you on offensive rebounds. They strip the ball away. Jokic had a lot of these possessions versus the Clippers and is likely to have a lot more versus OKC. Their ability to cause turnovers is ferocious, and it gets them out in transition where they are able to score more easily, and that nukes the Denver's defense because Denver wants to play a very slow possession game. So Denver in this series, I think they want to generate threes. I think they want to take them. I think the key is they're going to have to generate so much help and then kick to those guys because they have to generate so much help that the Thunder overloads into the paint. Now the Thunder want to do this, like they will do it as much as possible, but there's going to be another crowd in the paint here. Like they're going to absolutely jam the paint and dare other guys to beat them. Christian Brown making all those threes in that Clipper series, going to have to do it again. Russell Westbrook going to have to do it again. Peyton Watson going to have to do it again. From a Yoke perspective, the numbers are pretty telling to me as far as how this went versus Chet Holmgren this year via NBA.com's wonky tracking data. Jokic was 12 of 31, 39% from the field when facing Chet Holmgren. He only drew 4 free throws. Versus Isaiah Hartenstein, he was 16 of 25, 64%, and drew 5 free throws. This is not shocking to me. This should not be shocking to you. Now, he did have 20 assists versus Chet in 23 matchup minutes. He absolutely was cooking him with passes, but Chet's able to block most of Jokic's attempts. Chet's just that much of a physical freak and that good of a defender. Chet gave Jokic problems his rookie season, and he's even better now. Is Chet a better defender than Zubac? I do not know. I do not know who is a better defender. I know that if Chet Holmgren had played the entire season, he would have been Defensive Player of the Year, and it would not have been close. Even if Wemby had played the full season, I think Chet wins. That's how good Chet was. Now, Zoo's very different. Zoo's bigger. Zoo's stronger. So if Jokic is able to get a looser whistle in terms of the offensive fouls to be able to bully him, but Jokic also has to constantly be worried about that. It's one of the things I think is annoying about the way that these games are officiated is Jokic has to worry about offensive fouls against smaller players, but smaller players do not have to worry about defensive fouls against him. And that is a source of frustration for him and Nuggets fans, and I understand it completely. Devout Yokogamas Lumi says, I can't see Chet's lack of physicality shutting Jokic down in the same way. I'm just telling you, he's giving him problems. The man blocks the Sombor shuffle. What do you want? He had like 6 blocks in a game. He's able to do a lot here. Now, can Joker beat it? Absolutely 100%. Like his best is going to be better than Chet's. Great offense always beats great defense. But I also think that they're going to send a crowd. And again, they're going to dare Russ, Christian, Aaron, and Peyton to make spot up threes under duress with a defender closing out at them at 90 miles an hour like a screaming banshee. If the Nuggets knock those down, they can win the series. The formula for this series. Now, I will say this. Take everything I say with a grain of salt, because if you had told me that the Nuggets were going to be in a defensive series with the Los Angeles Clippers and they were going to win, I would have been like, you're out of your mind. But they've been that good. I think that some of the defensive stuff has been a little overstated. They were bad at times in the series. Game 6 was not good. Game 3 was an abomination, and Game 2 was honestly pretty bad. Like their defense is still not good. But as I always say, it's about finding answers to the problems in front of you. One thing I'm going to be really interested to see that we're going to talk about next. Coming up, can the Nuggets find a way to keep Jamal Murray out of these switches that they gave Kawhi Leonard? And if not, can they live with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scoring 60? And how do they shut down the rest of the Thunder if that happens? We'll talk about that coming up next on Locked On Nuggets. You ever check out your bank account and wonder where your money went? Because between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. When you start using Monarch, you're going to realize how much you were spending on food delivery, and you're not going to have to juggle multiple apps. You can use Monarch to check in all your finances, track spending, and even your long-term goals. You can manage stuff with your partner. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us here on a Monday. Ryan Blackburn and Rylan Stiles will be with you for a crossover episode on Monday afternoon. You'll get a post-game show from me and Ryan after Game 1. On Tuesday, you'll get Swipe Us Thoughts on Game 1. Then we'll be back for a live No Jinx on Tuesday night, setting up game 2. Then we'll do a post game after game 2. Got it? Multiple episodes every day here on Locked On Nuggets as the NBA playoffs roll on. John Steichen wants to know if we'll get another Gem Vengers. We will endeavor to make it happen. A lot of moving parts, but we'll endeavor to make it happen. Metalhead says, Nuggets 2-0 lead in the series. We've been the most wild 48 to 72 hours of NBA discourse. All right, so let's talk about Big Honey says, to be fair, OKC has more shooters across their depth, so it'll be tougher to double collapse on SGA. Okay, so this is true. One of the things that's going to be interesting, what they're likely to do is do a little bit of what they did to Harden, at least by the end of the series, or if the Nuggets are down. When the Nuggets give up 3 losses, they'll have 3 losses. They'll do this, which is the soft double matchup zone that they ran versus Harden and Kawhi in game 7 was genius and confused the heck out of the Clippers. They did not know what to do with it. They didn't blitz and trap like they did in the regular season when it was always a disaster. They would do this where, let's say that they had, when Aaron was guarding Jamal, the screener, and Jamal was guarding Harden. They'd run the screen. Aaron would step up. They would let Zoo roll entirely they would let him roll, but Aaron doesn't step up to defend. They'll try this with Shea, and I would imagine Dagnall's already going to have some different kind of counters for it. I will say Zoo's really good on the short roll. I trust Hartenstein a little bit more. I trust Chet a little bit less. Chet's got the athleticism to just take 2 dribbles and dunk, and that might be a problem in the series. But as a passer, because of his body style, it's a little bit more awkward. So you might be able to get away with it. You can throw the ball higher, which is an advantage because Chet is a brontosaurus. But there's a few more ways to kind of counter this. One of the things that you see in the regular season, the Nuggets gave that switch. Shea, this is a thing. Harden is not disciplined at this point in his career. He should have been hunting MPJ on every single possession. And he wasn't. Kawhi is not that disciplined. Kawhi's like, yeah, I'll hunt Jamal Murray some, but then like I'll also go Aaron Gordon or Christian Brown. Like, I don't care. Shooty hoops, man, make shooty hoops, get paid. And he can go home now. So Shea is a lot more deliberate. He's going to get Jamal Murray on him over and over and over again. And the Nuggets never really want to blitz in those guard screens. I think they should, because I think their entire objective should be get the ball out of Shea's hands and make everybody else beat you. Keep Aaron Gordon on J-Dub and make everybody else beat you. Make Casey Wallace, Alex Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, all those guys, make them beat you. But they're probably not going to. They're going to give the switch, and then Shea's going to get to the baseline, and he's going to hit a bunch of jumpers. I will tell you that Shea is one of the absolute best I have ever seen at driving to baseline and pulling up. If you look at the numbers, go look at his shot chart for how he shoots from the baseline on middies. It is absurd. His expected points per shot there is like 0.98, which is ridiculous given how difficult that shot is. It's a low impact thing. They really need to be able to send help at him. Maybe they do. Maybe they come out with a very inventive strategy, but if they don't, Shea's going to cook. And then you start doing things where it's like, oh, we got to blitz him, or we got to send an open double on the baseline. And then that's when he starts passing, and now you're in rotation, and now you're kind of doomed. Difference is Kawhi was a good test for elite midi guy. No, yes and no. The key here is that Kawhi will let you off the hook. Like, he went at Aaron, and he lost that battle. Like, he was 3 of 8 against Aaron in game 7. Now, he was over 50% for the series, though, because that's how good Kawhi is versus Aaron. Shea won't do that. Shea's not going to be like, Shea will cook Christian Brown some. I actually think Christian's way better now than he was when these teams matched up, especially in the beginning of the season, but also in that middle stretch in March. Christian's in a much better position, but they got to figure out a way to keep Jamal out of these actions, because there's nothing Jamal can do. Like, there's nothing Jamal can do. And if you want to just try and live with his offense and stay home on everybody else, okay. But Shea's going to test that because of how good he is at shot making. It becomes very difficult to kind of hang with it. So that's something I think to kind of hold up. The difference says you don't think MPJ held his majority for the Clippers series? They didn't target him enough, man. I'm telling you, like, I've got the numbers. Like, they did not target him enough. That is not a thing that they did. They did not go at Porter nearly as often as they could have. Now, there's reasons for that in terms of who MPJ was guarding and their screening. So that's part of the equation that you have to kind of consider here. But like, as an example, in that last series, when Porter was defending, they really just did not honestly get to go at Porter all that much. They just didn't do it because Harden and Kawhi were very focused on getting Jamal into those actions. I think to try and wear him down. Chris Dunn had 7 attempts against him. Zoo had actually the most shots against Porter on the short roll because he was guarding him on the short roll, and he shot 10 of 17. When Kawhi was guarded by MPJ, he was 8 of 15. When Powell was guarded by MPJ, he was 3 of 10. So good for MPJ for defending Norman Powell well enough. That was good. Harden only got 8 shots on him. He just didn't hunt him down enough. Shai's going to hunt him, and J-Dub's going to hunt him in the bench minutes. So that's something to consider, I think, in this series as well. Nicholas Williams says MPJ on Chet. Maybe. Like, it's not a bad idea. I actually kind of like the idea. I like the idea of Jokic on Caruso and MPJ. I don't think they're going to play 2 bigs. I think they start single big, or they go to this by the middle of the series. I think OKC's best 5 is going to be Shai, Caruso / Cason Wallace / Isaiah Joe / whoever. J-Dub or Dort, J-Dub, and Chet. That, I think, is going to be their best 5. I like Gordon defending Jalen Williams. I think he can do a pretty good job on that. J-Dub's extremely dangerous, but I think Gordon can hold up there. And if you shut off the water to J-Dub, that's going to go a long way. I think having CB battle Shai and try and stay on him as much as possible. But again, like, I just kind of wonder why they never try and scram the switch to deny it. Like, just try and fight through the screen a couple times and see what happens. Now, the problem with this is, like, you can go under, and then it gets bad because you give him a lane. One of the things you actually kind of want to do here, Shai's 3-point shot, not elite. Like, Shai has not been amazing from 3-point range. He's extremely good spot up is one thing that does happen. He is extremely dangerous as a spot up shooter. If you leave him and the ball refines him, he is a knockdown shooter. But as a pull up 3-point shooter, not great. He was only 37.5% from 3 in this season from 3-point range. It's good. 10 years ago, it's amazing. Now it's just like, okay. And so you can kind of, I think, find some ways there. Hurricanes is foul trouble for Dort. I don't know how. Dort's the kind of guy that gives Murray problems. Alex Caruso is a menace, even though he's not the mold of guys that give Murray problems. Cason Wallace is the model of the guy that gives Murray problems. I don't know. I don't know what the series is going to be like for Jamal. I thought he was going to have a good series versus the Clippers. He had like 2 good games, and then the rest of it was just he missed some shots. I thought, honestly, he played pretty well, but just missed some shots. Maybe he makes some tough ones in this series, but he's more explosive than he was last year versus the Wolves. I still kind of worry about him in this series. I don't think this is a great matchup for him. I think it's better for Jokic. I think if Jokic can figure out a way to get Chet in foul trouble, that changes the equation because he can score on Hart really well. Hartenstein he can score on him really well. Sean says, I'm going to laugh when MPJ hits 6 threes and scores 25 in the first game. I'm not saying he can't. Look, I thought he couldn't play in that Clipper series, and he battled through and was phenomenal and won his minutes and was great. This one, I don't think that he can't play in. I don't think that that's what this is about. Look, maybe Shai goes at him and targets him, and then you're in a little bit of trouble. But honestly, I think Shai's going to be very comfortable with Jamal. I'd actually if I'm OKC, I like Jamal on Shai better than I would like Kawhi versus Jamal. That's just a better matchup to me, even though Kawhi's so strong. Ariel says Pickett and Zeke minutes. Pickett played well in their last match. Nope, dude, it's 7 guys. It's the starters, Russ and Peyton. That's it. That's it. Those are the guys. That's who they got. They might try and buy minutes with DJ so Joker and Aaron don't combust. That's it. Nico says Russ on SGA when he's in, yeah, like that'll be the primary defender. But again, you got to understand, Shea is like very deliberate at hunting switches if you're a switching team, and the Nuggets are a 1-4 switch team. That's their base coverage. They very rarely change that. Now they blitz Kawhi in some of those situations, so maybe they'll do a little bit different. Like I would like to see that if they blitz Shea in guard screens, I think they got a shot here because Shea's a good passer, not an elite passer. If they're able to get the ball out, and I do think in this series you want to dare some of these shooters. What you really want in this series, Lou Dort is a 40% 3-point shooter. That's who he is, and he deserves credit for that. When the Thunder have failed versus the Mavericks last year, versus the Bucks in the bubble or the in-season tournament, and versus select opponents in big situations this year, it's been because Alex Caruso and Lou Dort missed open 3-point shots that were high leverage. What you want is for the third quarter for it to be a 1-point game, and you're able to generate miss, and the crowd starts to get nervous, and Dort starts to get tight, and now all of a sudden you got an opportunity. Now, Dort can just knock those down because I think Dort's a really good shooter, actually. He had a really good game. I think it was game 4 versus the Mavericks last year where he made some huge shots down the stretch. That can happen. Absolutely. So to me, I think that there's kind of some issue that difference is blitzing. They're so explosive though, and they're connected on a string. Don't you think you're asking for trouble? That's their base coverage, man. Like their base coverage is putting 2 on ball, and you can kind of hedge or you can blitz it, but you're always better off putting actual ball pressure on it. You're right that they're connected on a string, and then one of the problems is all their guys actually can dribble. They're not just 3-point shooters. They're not like the Rockets where it was like Harden and you force a double and you kick it to open shooters and that's all they can do. Their guys can drive. And the Nuggets interior defense is a weak point. But I still think that if you dare them to make some of these shots, you're probably better off because their individual talent at the top is so high. What you don't want to do is you don't want to allow transition comfortable threes. You don't want to allow possessions where you're so in rotation that they're making 4 or 5 passes. That's when they can really make it hard on you. They're really good cutters. You got to be disciplined. I think you see a lot of zone in this series. I think this is going to be a very zone heavy series from both teams. I think both teams are going to have to use a lot of zone because you're going to want to try and slow them down and try and make them win. Vincenti says, so Matt, what's the best way we win or what are the chances? You get smacked in game 2. They get overconfident. You steal game 2. You go into Denver and you steal game 3. And now all of a sudden it's 2-1. And OKC is really up against it. They come back and they win game 4. You're at game 5 in OKC. You're able to steal that one close. And then it's game 6 back in Denver and you got a chance to close it out. That to me is a pathway for winning. What are the chances? Low. I will just tell you, like, I have Thunder in 5 as a pick. The Nuggets are too tired, too short of depth. They're exhausted. That series was brutal. This Thunder team is awesome. I think they can get a game. That's probably underselling them. They can probably get another one just based off of their mental toughness and Jokic and just the whole thing. But the odds of them winning the series are very low. That's my honest opinion to you as an analyst, is that I know how good OKC is. It's not really about the matchup. I don't hate this matchup for Denver. There's pathways for them to win. They're narrow. The margin for error for OKC is very wide because they're so good. The matchup is not bad for Denver, but the margin for error is wide. So Denver's got to lower the margin for error. And if they can do that, they'll have a chance to steal this series. Ryan and Rylan Stiles from Locked On Thunder will be along tomorrow to give you more thoughts on this series. We'll have a post-game show after game 1. If they pull this off, it's going to be an incredible win. I am not ruling it out, even though I don't think it happens. Hope you guys enjoy the game. Your team is in the second round. We'll see you guys again next time here on Locked On Nuggets.